Subpsyche says, or Subpsyche, how can we enter NFT space, aka blue chip projects, without being excessively rich?
I think
I
you
would
need
say
to
you can't.
buy, yeah, you need to buy an
Yeah.
NFT before it becomes a blue chip project, honestly.
Yeah.
Or sort of win it in like one of the few actual raffles or something that happens with these
Mm,
things, which, I wouldn't advertise trying to go find them because you're probably just going to be finding scams more likely. But they
yeah.
do happen occasionally. Um,
Occasionally.
but yeah, you you literally you can't get into what is a consensus opinion blue chip NFT project without being rich at this point. But you can definitely get into NFT projects that in the future will be considered
Mm,
blue chips without being excessively rich. And if your goal is to be in those projects and you are not excessively rich, that's where you're going to have to search for the time being, is not in the Bored Ape Yacht Club, but in projects that have the potential to be, the next Bored Ape Yacht Club, so to speak. Although,
yeah.
people like using more of the expression, it's going to be the first itself, right? Rather than
Right. Yeah.
trying to actually just copy it, because then you're
Mm,
not actually that interesting of a project. But
yeah.
there's for sure going to be other huge projects that gain a lot of mind share amongst the
Mm,
NFT community, probably of projects that exist right now, but certainly of some that don't exist yet and are going to come out in the future. Um,
yeah.
and a lot of them will be affordable. Although, unfortunately, more and more, I feel like we are seeing projects that are going, just, we can mint at 3 ETH or whatever. Whereas it used to just be everything was point 0.1 or
Mm,
less. It felt like.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and now a little bit more, you're definitely seeing projects just going, we're going to try to get as much money on this mint as we possibly can, and then we don't necessarily need to worry about keeping the project afloat if our goal was to make money. If
Yeah.
theoretically you could have a very cynical operation that are just releasing an NFT project to make money, but if they do that, if their goal is to do that through royalties, they can like accidentally make a very cool project with a cool
Mm,
community. But again, if they just jack up the mint price and try and get it all at once, you're so unlikely to end up with an interesting project and an interesting community.
yeah. No, I agree with all of that. It's, yeah, getting into a quote unquote blue chip at this point by group consensus, I think 5 to 10 ETH is around what the minimum of what we consider a blue chip would be. I think, I don't know, World of Women is probably in that category or very close to it, and they're at 7 ETH or something. Last I checked, 7 or 8.
Hmm.
Gutter Cat Gang, I think, is 6 to 7. But yeah, it's going to take likely tens of thousands of dollars. Or
Well, yeah, but
yeah,
you bring up something interesting, like, so Gutter Cat Kang, let's call them a blue
mm,
chip, right? You can get the vials for the clones for 0.15 or something like that right now. I haven't
yeah,
actually checked in a few days, but that's where it was last I checked, and that's relatively speaking quite affordable. And so
yeah,
you're in a blue chip project, but you don't necessarily own the blue chip NFTs from that project. You kind of have the
yeah,
lower tier, but it gets you in there, and who knows how they're going to reward those people later, or what the market will value them at later.
yeah,
So definitely you can also look for the lower tiers, or for instance, possibly cool pets, and
mm,
cool cats, although those are still pretty expensive. I mean, much more so than these gutter juices I just
yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how we define excessively rich. I mean,
Yeah, and
one
blue chip.
interpretation is that anyone who's just transacting on Ethereum mainnet is excessively rich,
For
because
sure, yeah.
to be able to afford, even though
To have
gas is
internet
getting a lot cheaper.
access,
Yeah, exactly.
for a lot of
Internet,
people,
to
just
fund a
means that
wallet,
you're
like,
rich. Yeah.
yeah, all of that stuff.
To have time to tweet about
Yeah,
NFTs,
yeah,
it means
uh,
you're not working in a mine 24 hours a day.
yeah. But I guess excessively rich is
But
a
again, I mean,
little
it's
higher
still,
for me. But yeah,
it's
it's all
such
relative.
a
Hey,
spectrum.
yeah. Um,
But here, one more thing though, we've talked about this before when people talk about like avoiding the gas, but um, you know, if we're going to have more blockchains that really do take off and do host NFTs that accrue long-term value and are considered blue chips or whatever, maybe look on Solana or
mm,
Tezos or some other ones that I'm not even, at all cognizant of what's going on there. But eventually, if that blockchain scales and whatnot, there will be blue chip NFT projects on it, and stuff that's around early right now is probably relative to the Ethereum NFTs very cheap, and ultimately could be blue chip in the end.
Yeah.